Hello, my bookworm friends, and welcome back to Bookworm Buzz. Bookworms, I think it's true to say that I have fallen down the fantasy rabbit hole. So, as some of you may know or may remember from previous videos of mine, I have dedicated the whole of April to reading nothing but fantasy books because I am completely new to the fantasy genre, and so I thought, let me dive right in, let me read fantasy and let me see what I think. Well, the good news is I've been having a good experience. I wouldn't say brilliant, but I'm on book, I think number 6. I think it's book number 6 of the month at the moment. I've had a few 3 stars, I've had a few 4 stars, I've had a couple of 4.5 stars. So in general, things are going well. I'm happy with the genre and I'm enjoying it. But where I am losing control is in regard to my book buying. So I have been buying fantasy books like a crazy person. So in this video today, I am going to share with you guys 9, is it 9 or 10? I think it's 9 fantasy books that I have recently bought. Now, these books are either what I would call standalone fantasy novels, or they are the very first book in a series. I am also going to be filming a separate video where I haul and show you what I've bought in terms of actual series, because I'm not joking when I say I have bought a lot, and with some books I have bought the entire series, and with some of them I've bought the first 2 or 3 in a series. But in today's video, it's standalones and it's books that I have bought that are only number one in a series. So without further ado, and in order to not make this video too long, let's kick things off. So firstly, guys, the very first book that I bought is this one. Now this is called, well, I always look at the title and think it's Babel, but I've heard a lot of people and most people call it Babel. So Babel, whatever it is, and this is by R.F. Kuang. This is the same author that wrote The Poppy War. So there's a series of 3 books called The Poppy War. This is the same author as that. And The Poppy War is a book that I am actually busy reading at this exact minute. So anyway, this is a standalone novel by that author, and the blurb on the back is pretty brief, so let me just tell you what it says. So in this book, we are actually going back to Oxford. Back in the day, it's 1836. Right, and then from the blurb, we have this. It is the center of all knowledge and progress in the world, and at its heart is Babel, Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation, the tower from which all the power of the empire flows. Orphaned in Canton and brought to England by a mysterious guardian, Robin Swift thought Babel a paradise, until it became a prison. But can a student stand against an empire? So I have heard nothing but good things about this read, and so I decided to pick it up and give it a chance. I have heard that there are some, I don't want to say serious topics because a lot of fantasy novels have serious topics, but I've heard that this one can be a little bit preachy, which is not something I gravitate towards, but I'm going to keep an open mind. Like I say, a lot of people have raved about this book, and so I'm quite keen to give it a shot. Then my bookworm friends, next up, and the next standalone novel that I decided to pick up is this one. So this one is called Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norell, and the author is Susanna Clarke. My friends, look how thick this book is. This is an absolute chunker. It's an absolute chunker of a fantasy novel. How many pages does this one have actually? 846. So we have 846 pages in this book. But let me tell you, I am actually not intimidated because I am so excited to read this one. I've heard such good things about this one. It's not a specifically new release, but it is a book that I can't wait to get into. So just like the last book that I showed you, this one is again a bit of a historic fantasy novel, because in this book we are going back to 1806 in England, and basically what it appears is that magic and fantasy and all those type of things have sort of left the world, and there are only 2, what are they called? 2 magicians left. So you have basically Mr. Norell. He is left in this world, but then you have the emergence of another young magician, and that is the apparently quite good looking and handsome Jonathan Strange. So basically, let me just read you the one paragraph. Well, actually, it's a couple of paragraphs from the blurb. So it's 1806. England is beleaguered by the Long War, and centuries have passed since magicians faded from view. But one remains, the reclusive Mr. Norell. Proceeding to London, he raises a woman from the dead and summons a fleet of ghostly ships to terrify the French. So already, that magic and all of that just sounds fantastic. Yet the cautious Norell is challenged by the emergence of another magician. Young, handsome, and daring, Jonathan Strange is his very antithesis. So begins a dangerous battle between these two great men, which overwhelms that between England and France. And soon their own secret dabblings with the dark arts are going to cause more trouble than they can imagine. Oh, so this one sounds amazing. I'm so excited to read it. I love the fact that the blurb says that there are dark arts involved in this. I love that concept. So although, like I say, this is a pretty chunky novel, it is one that I'm looking forward to. Don't think I'm going to be getting it or getting to it anytime soon, but yes, definitely one that I'm happy to have in my collection. And then the third and final standalone novel that I want to show you guys today is this one. So this is called A Language of Dragons, and the author is S.F. Williamson. Now, isn't this cover gorgeous, you guys? I love this cover. In honesty, I actually hadn't heard a lot about this book. And then I was at the bookshop and I saw this cover and I saw the fact that it had dragons, and I'm a big sucker for dragons when it comes to fantasy. And so I decided to pick this one up. Now, once again, strangely enough, this is another historical fantasy novel. Once again, we are going back to England. And in this book, it's set in London in 1923. So this is what we have here. Dragons soar through the skies and protests erupt on the streets. But Vivian Featherswallow isn't worried. She's going to follow the rules and get an internship studying dragon languages. With her parents arrested and her little sister missing, all the safety Viv has worked for is collapsing around her. So when a lifeline is offered in the form of a mysterious job, she grabs it. Arriving at Bletchley Park, Viv discovers that she has been recruited to uncover the secrets of a hidden dragon language. If she succeeds, she and her family can all go home again. But if she doesn't, they'll all die. So that is, in a nutshell, what this one is about. This one gets about an average of a 4 on Goodreads. So not, high rating in general, but I am excited to read this one. I'm happy that it's a standalone and it isn't too chunky. So this one probably comes in around, I'm guessing now, 450-ish pages. Let's just have a look. 469 pages. So this one is one where, like I say, I was taken in by the cover, but I am also happy to hear that many people have rated this one quite highly. And so it's another one that is going to look fantastic on my bookshelf and that I'm excited to get to. And then now I'm going to be taking you through the 6 books that I have bought that are all book number 1 in a series. So I will explain to you, well, not explain to you what the series is about, but I will tell you how many books there are in the series, what book number 1 is actually about, and so on and so on. So let's start with this one. So this is one that many of you have probably heard about. This one is called Malice, and the author is John Gwynne. Now, this is quite a famous book. Well, I shouldn't say famous, but this is quite a well-known read that lots of people have referred to in their videos. I've heard lots of people talking about this one. And this one is actually in a series of 4 books. The series itself, let me just check my notes, is called, so the series itself is called The Faithful and the Fallen. This is obviously book number 1. Like I say, there are 4 books. Now, this one, obviously, probably from the cover you can see, I believe, has a lot of sort of warrior type vibes, fight scenes, wars, that type of thing. So maybe leaning a little bit more male or manly than some of the other fantasies. I don't think this one involves dragons and fairies and those type of things. But I have heard good things, and so I decided to pick this one up and to at least read the first book and to see what I think. So with a lot of these books that I've picked up where I've only bought the first one, Basically, what these are and why I only bought the first one is because I actually want to just try the books first to see if the series are actually going to be for me. They may be books where I wasn't 100% sure if they were going to be for me, so I didn't want to invest the money and buy the entire series only to find that, I'm not in love with it. So, my friends, this is what the blurb says. The banished lands have a violent past, where armies of men and giants clashed in battle. An uneasy peace reigns, but now giants stir once more. The very stones weep blood, and there are sightings of gigantic worms. But this is spelled, worms here are spelled W-Y-R-M-S, but I presume it's pronounced worms. Those who can still read the signs see a prophecy realized. Sorrow will darken the world as angels and demons make it their battlefield. So, that sounds very fascinating. Anyway, young Corbin watches enviously as boys become warriors and yearns to join them, determined that he will make his family proud. It is only when everything he knows is threatened that he discovers the true cost of becoming a man. As the kings look to their borders and priests beg answers from the gods, only a chosen few know that the fate of the world will be decided between two champions, the black sun and the bright star. And with their coming will be a war to end all wars. So, as I said, definitely wars, definitely battle scenes, probably a bit of violence, maybe some gore, I don't know. But anyway, I've heard good things, and so I'm pretty keen to get to this one. And then next up is a book that many of you may have heard about. I think this one could probably be classified, or maybe is classified, as a romantasy book. Now, for those of you not familiar with the term, a romantasy book basically means the blending of a romance and a fantasy novel. So the next one I decided to pick up, and that I've also been hearing tons about, is this one. This is called Quicksilver, and the author is Kelly Hart. Now, again, another book that lots of people have been reading and enjoying. At the moment, I believe there are 2 books available. Well, actually, this one is obviously available. The second one in the series, I'm not sure if it's available quite yet, but it is going to be released sometime soon. And I don't know how many books there are going to be in total in this series. I couldn't from Goodreads gather that. But this series is called the Fae and Alchemy Saga series. So this is obviously book number 1. There are some aspects of romance to the story. There is a Fae world in the story. Again, I don't think we get dragons or anything like that, but let me just quickly read to you from the blurb. So this one says, Ceres Fane is good at keeping secrets. No one knows about the powers she possesses or the fact that she has been stealing from the Undying Queen's reservoirs for as long as she can remember. But a secret is like a knot. Sooner or later, it is bound to come undone. When Ceres comes face to face with death himself, she inadvertently reopens a gateway between realms and is transported to Velia, a land of ice and snow. The Fae have always been the stuff of myth, of legend, of nightmares, but it turns out they're real, and Ceres has landed in the center of a centuries-long conflict that might just get her killed. The first of her kind to enter Velia in over 1,000 years, Ceres mistakenly binds herself to Kingfisher, a handsome Fae warrior with an agenda of his own. He will use her powers to protect his people, no matter what it costs him or her. Death has a name. It is Kingfisher of the Ancient Gate. His past is murky, his attitude stinks, and he's the only way Ceres is going to make it home. Not sure if she's pronounced Ceres maybe, I'm not sure. Anyway, so guys, like I say, this one is definitely a romantasy type of book. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of romance developing here. I mean, the back does not necessarily say that, but it definitely leans in that direction. And so, yes, that is, it's a genre that I'm not 100% sure yet how I feel about. But from what I've been reading now in April, I do think it's actually okay. I mean, I'm not the hugest romance reader historically, but I think when it's blended with fantasy, and if it's not too heavy in the romance, there's more fantasy and less romance, then I'm going to be okay with it. So looking forward to reading this one and to seeing what I think about the genre in general. And then next up, my friends, we have this one. I'm just trying to angle the book so that hopefully the light is catching the cover so that you can see what this is. So this is The Lies of Locke, Lamora, and the author here is Scott Lynch. Now, I ordered this one over an online store that we have in South Africa, and this is how this book arrived. It's a hardcover like this. It doesn't have any other cover, paper cover to it or anything. So this is literally how the book arrived. Now, I think this is quite pretty. It is a hardcover, obviously, fairly thick. And like I say, this is how the book arrived. Now, the blurb on the back. Oh, actually, before I get onto that. So this is a series where apparently there are 7 books in the series. And I think 7 books completes the series. The series is called the Gentleman Bastard series. And like I say, there are 7 books, and I think, like I say, there are no more books expected. I think that pretty much kills the series. So I thought this one sounded quite appealing. I've heard quite a bit about it, and it does get very good reviews in general on Goodreads. So again, I didn't want to rush out and buy the entire series when I hadn't yet read the first book. So let me try this first book, and then after that, I will decide if I should be buying more. The blurb on the back is very, very brief, so let me just read it to you quickly. They say that the Thorn of Camor can beat anyone in a fight. They say he steals from the rich and gives to the poor. They say he's part man, part myth, and mostly street corner rumor. And they are wrong on every count. So, I mean, very brief, not a lot to go on from that, but based on the fact that it does get such good reviews on Goodreads, and the fact that that is a little bit of a mysterious blurb, I like the fact that maybe we are not told absolutely everything. I think I might just like this one, and yeah, happy to have it on my bookshelves, and hopefully I can get to this one sometime soon. Now, the second last book I'm going to share with you guys. I actually thought I had 3 more to share with you, but I've removed the 1 book because in that series, I've actually bought the first and the second book. So I want to add that and those books specifically to another video that I'm going to be filming. So for now, I only have 2 more books to show you. This is the first one. So this is called Fall of Ruin and Wrath, and the author is Jennifer L. Armentrout. Now, this one, from what I can tell, is the first book in what is going to be a new series. But at the moment, only the first book has been released. But apparently, this series is going to be called the Awakening series. And like I say, only this very first book has been released at the moment. So this is what we can expect from this one. Long ago, the world was destroyed by gods. Only 9 cities were spared, separated by a vast wilderness teeming with dangers. Each city is now ruled by a guardian, royals who feed on mortal pleasure. Born with an intuition that never fails, Callista knows her talents are valuable to the power-hungry, so she lives hidden as a royal baron's courtesan, giving him information in exchange for protection. But after a prince takes an interest in Callista, this security wears thin, and the voice inside her blazes with warning. Soon, with monsters at the gates and a hungry prince in her bed, intuition may not be enough. Callista must choose, follow her instincts to safety or her heart to her downfall. So again, this appears to perhaps be a romantasy type novel. There's clearly going to be some romance developing here. I don't know, probably maybe a little bit of a forbidden romance. Again, not 100% sure. But this one, being the first in the series, is something that I do want to try. I probably won't read this one straight away. In general, with the series, I don't like to read the first book when none of the other books have been released. Because with a series, I sometimes feel you need to try and read the books, if not one behind each other, because I don't necessarily think you have to do that. But I think you have to try and read the books fairly soon within each other, or else, you know, what tends to happen is that you forget, or at least I do. I forget sometimes the detail and what happened in the earlier books. So yes, I might not be getting to this one anytime soon, but I do think it sounds very, very cool, very, very interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. And then last but not least, my friends, is this one that many of you may also be familiar with. This one is called The Shadow of the Gods, and the author is John Gwynne. Now, yes, that author's name may sound familiar because I have mentioned him already in this video, because he is also the author of Malice. So this is a series on its own, and this is a separate series. So basically, this is a trilogy. There are 3 books that have been released in this series, and from what I know, the series is complete. complete with the 3 books that completes the series. The series is actually called the Blood Sworn Saga. So like I say, this is the first of 3 books. If I enjoy this one, I will obviously pick up the other 2. I like the fact that everything in the series has been released. So if I enjoy this one, I can read the full series as soon as I want to. So basically, in this one, we have, again, a very short blurb. It says, "The greatest sagas are written in blood." Set in a brand new Norse-inspired world and packed with myth, magic, and bloody vengeance, The Shadow of the Gods begins an epic new fantasy saga from best-selling author John Gwynne. And that, my friends, is actually all the blurb on the back says. But then if you have a look in the front few pages, you get lots of comments from other authors saying how much they enjoyed this book and how fantastic it is, etc., etc. So just on that basis, I'm happy to give this one a chance. It also does get some very good reviews on Goodreads. And the fact that the cover shows a dragon, as you can see, that already hooked me, because I've already mentioned I'm quite partial to dragons in fantasy novels. And so this one and the cover, and I've seen the covers of the other books in the series, and they also all have dragons on the front. And so I'm quite happy to give this one a chance. This one, obviously, you can see there's a little man standing over there. He looks like he may be a warrior. He looks like he's holding a sword. And he's almost facing off against this dragon. So, so yes, if anything is to be read into what this book will be about by looking at the cover, then I think I'm sold, and I'm going to be happy to give this one a chance. Many people have read it. It's not a specifically new novel. Actually, when was this one published? Let me just have a very quick look. 2021, so not as old as I thought. I thought this one was a bit older, but this one is 2021. So yeah, a few years ago. And of course, I'm looking forward to this one. I mean, for example, we've got some little blurbs on the back here that say, "A masterclass in storytelling, epic, gritty fantasy with an uncompromising amount of heart." So sign me up. So yes, my friends, that is the final book in this video that I wanted to share with you. So that is actually my latest haul. It's my latest fantasy book haul. As I've mentioned already, I have bought other fantasy novels where I have bought the entire series. Or if not the entire series, a number of books in the series. And so I'm going to be filming that video sometime soon so that I can share it with all of you as well. So definitely keep an eye on my channel for that. On that note, my friends, I'm going to love and leave you and wish you all happy reading. Bye.